We did it, y'all. We made it to 10 whole subscribers. Well, it's actually 11, but we did it. I know that doesn't seem like a whole lot, but to me that is. I mean, that's 11 whole people that like to hear me yap. That's more than normal. So to start off this video, I just wanted to say thank you for the support, and I hope to continue to provide at least some form of entertainment with this little hobby of mine for however long I decide to do it. You guys are great. And so to celebrate, I want to talk about some of my favorite number 10s in the game. Well, at least within soccer and in anime. This is an idea that I'd had a little while ago, and I wanted to test it out because it gives me an excuse to talk about soccer, or football. But first, let me kind of go over what the number 10 position means in soccer. They're often that centerpiece between the midfield and the attack. They're the ones who usually do those creative passes down the line, down the wing, or they're the ones who can dribble past a couple defenders to give the striker a bit more space up front. They pull the strings, if you will. And although the number 10 position has kind of dwindled off in the modern game, it's a position that I've always loved. But not every player who's ever worn the number 10 was necessarily an attacking midfielder. I just want to talk about some of my favorite players who've worn the number 10 shirt. And so to start off, I want to go over some honorable mentions. And more specifically, I want to talk about two of the greatest players who have ever graced the pitch. I never got to see them play as they were way before my time, but I've seen clips, I've seen the highlights, I've seen the Hand of God memes. I'm talking about Pelé, and I'm talking about Maradona. And again, I apologize as I can't quite say a whole lot about them as I never got to see them play for real, but I can't make a video about my favorite number 10s or talking about the number 10 shirt without at least mentioning them. They are the greatest players of all time for a reason, or at least considered to be the greatest players of all time. Now, two players that I did see growing up and I did have some exposure and some very strong emotional attachments to are Mesut Ozil and Ronaldinho. Now, I'm not saying that Mesut and Ronaldinho were better players than Maradona and Pelé. I just got to see them. I got to watch them play. I got to get that exposure and grow up with them in a sense. Ronaldinho, I was watching more so towards the end of his career, and Mesut, I got to watch pretty much the whole thing. Particularly, I watched Mesut a lot during his Real Madrid days, and, most importantly, during his Arsenal days. And that man had a finesse and technicality to them that is just so refined. He couldn't shoot with his right foot to save his life, but he was still really good. But for my last honorable mention here, I wanted to talk about one of the greats, the 10-piece chicken nugget, as that got me through, one, a lot of college, two, a lot of my childhood. Just nothing really quite hit like a 10-piece when I was a kid. And now, with all of those honorable mentions out of the way, I will talk about what I consider to be two of my favorite number 10s in media, in whatever you want to call it. And since we were still kind of on the topic of football, I want to talk about a legend that arose from a city in Rosario, Argentina. This guy's first club was Newell's Old Boys. And the first time that I was exposed to him was during a 2006 World Cup match between Mexico and Argentina. Now, I was 7 when I watched this match, and as a Mexican American, I was an avid supporter of the Mexican men's national team at the time. I mean, I still am, but, you know. The game was tied at 1-1, and then all of a sudden, this promising young player that I had heard a little bit about had come onto the pitch. This player was wearing the number 19, and he came on in the 84th minute, I believe it was, for Javier Saviola. And that kid's name was Lionel Andres Messi. Now, I can sit here and talk about Messi and the impact that he's had on my life for several minutes. But I'm not going to do that because I don't truly know the guy. I just know what he represents to me. And if I were to describe Messi in one word, aside from the GOAT, it would be that Messi, to me, is magic. He's magic on the pitch in every way, shape, or form. He's done things in the sport that are near statistically impossible, and he's created so many opportunities, so many chances, so many moments out of thin air. He's a player of undeniable talent, but talent alone does not define what Messi is. And to me, Messi is my favorite number 10 of all time, at least in real sports. Because now, to close off this video, I want to talk about a player who wears a number 10 in one of my favorite anime. And no, although I've been yapping about soccer this entire video, I'm not going to talk about Blue Lock. The player who I'm talking about plays volleyball, which to me has always been a sport that I wanted to play, but I never really motivated myself to do so. But that's besides the point, because at the end of the day, if I had a teammate like Hinata Shoyo, I think I would be able to conquer just about anything. Hinata is the type of player who brings up everyone around him, whether it's with his positivity or by his absolute buffoonery. He's a player of undeniable talent, but at the same time, he's also somebody who works very, very hard. And to put it simply, Hinata just loves volleyball from his very core. And he's a player that I really like and a character that I really like because he's somebody who can pick himself back up throughout the various types of scenarios that he's had to go through. See, the one thing about Haikyuu that I've always really liked is that the main characters don't always win, but that's a part of growth. Not only as an athlete, but as a person. You can't go into something expecting to be perfect and to win everything all the time. People don't grow that way. And Shoyo is a great example of that. He actually begins the series losing, and he doesn't get down in the dumps. He just picks himself back up, and he continues to work hard. And he does that throughout the entire series, up until the very end, where he just reaches his peak. But it's a wonderful journey to follow because Hinata is just such a ray of positivity. And just like everybody who's a happy person, we also get to see him when he's not. We see the hardships that he goes through, not just in high school, but even afterwards. And again, he just gets back up and he tries again. Maybe in the future, I'll do a video just about Shoyo, but there's plenty of other Haikyuu characters that I think I would like to make videos about first. But for now, I just wanted to make it very clear that in terms of anime, Hinata Shoyo is my favorite number 10. And with all that said, thanks so much again for the 11 subscribers so far. It doesn't seem like a lot to a whole lot of people, but it is to me. And I'll always be really grateful that I have people supporting this little hobby of mine. So if you liked what you saw, please feel free to drop me a like, share the video, and subscribe. This has been Sagi Taco, and I will see you guys in the very near future for another video. Hasta luego.